Welcome to AngelAI.com, where your financial access is fair and unbound. Experience the exhilarating rhythm of speed, certainty, and confidence. Let Angel AI empower your journey with seamless finance, ensuring happiness and tranquility for every consumer and homeowner. Your empathetic personal assistant, redefining financial excellence. Go to AngelAI.com and let us show you that nothing is beyond reach. Welcome to the Angel Hour, brought to you by Angel AI. This week, bringing you a conversation with T.O. Terrell Owens.
My name is Pavan Agarwal, and I am delighted to bring you today a thoughtful hour on life, empathy, and financial insights with some amazing guests. Over the next few weeks, we will be talking to some of the most interesting people today and learning about how they define success and the impact of artificial intelligence has had on their lives and is having on your money and your finances. Today, Angel AI is already bringing together home buyers like you, realtors, and banking professionals, allowing for fast, efficient, and trustworthy execution of the home financing process. Angel AI's mission is to help you build wealth and financial security through home ownership. Come and experience Angel AI at angelai.com and let Angel AI show you that nothing is beyond reach. So now, let's hear from someone who I know that all fans of the 49ers remember fondly and whose life lessons and insights are inspiring, fascinating, and probably a little surprising. I recently had a chat with Hall of Fame wide receiver Terrell T.O. Owens at the Mindset Summit in Dallas, but it's clear his heart is still in San Francisco. We started the conversation by talking about his career, education, and the nerd that I am, my favorite topic, mathematics.
You've had a great career, and
it was okay.
Well, we're going to talk about basketball also, because that was something surprising you told me in there. But you had a great career, and you've had some criticism, and you've always done things your way. Right? Is there anything that you would do differently looking back?
Probably communicate more. Growing up in a household with my grandmama, we didn't really talk much. She didn't really allow us to get out of the yard and go socialize very much. So I was a bit sheltered. So then when I got to the NFL, I think that was something, I guess, my teammates kind of noticed how kind of like, I guess to myself I was. And then, like I said, on the football field, I'm two different people. You know what I mean? On the football field, I'm more of an extrovert. You know, I think that was when the best came out of me. I was forced to I was thrust in a situation where I had to learn from the best. In order to be the best, you have to do things differently. And I think for me, my desire to want to be the best, I think is what propelled me to be the athlete that I became, because it wasn't always that way. Coming out of high school, I was probably maybe a 2 or 3 star athlete. And, you know, growing up in Alabama, you had Auburn, SEC, and you had University of Alabama. And my talent, you know, they evaluated the kids in that area, and I didn't have the skill set or the talent to go to either of those universities. If I could have had a dream to do anything, it would have to played for the University of Alabama. But my skill set at that time, like I said, I was a late bloomer, it didn't allow me to do that. So I took a different path, but again, it didn't deter me from really that relentless pursuit of being wanting to be better than I was when I was in high school and even when in college. But obviously playing and being drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, I got a chance to see up close what the greatest receiver of all time looked like, and what what he did and what that embodied. And so for me, I always had the work ethic and the desire to be something, but I just had to really just hone in and prioritize my inefficiencies and my deficiencies in my game to get to that level.
Okay. So, you know, you talk about growing up in Alexandria. What advice do you have for kids growing up in Alexandria as a parent, and your kids are athletes as well, is to balance their lives and achieve what they can achieve?
I think it's a process. I mean, growing up in Alabama, growing up, I didn't really understand really what I didn't have. until I obviously reached the level that I did, and you go back and you're like, man, this was bad. Um, uh, but again, I just tell kids, like I said, if I can be a role model or a mentor to those kids, again, it starts at home with your mom and dad, and if you have the luxury of having both parents in the household, that's a luxury that a lot of really black families and a lot of black kids don't have. A lot of single family parents and a lot of kids from single parent homes, especially playing sports. So again, it starts at home, obviously in school. You have to be a good student athlete, not only just like you're going to be an athlete, but you got to be a good student athlete. So I would also just prioritize that. And I think we as parents, we have to emphasize that more so than anything. It's okay to obviously to be an athlete, and so if you have the skill set or the projection or the trajectory to be something special. But I think, obviously with all the money that's being paid to these kids these days, they see what's important for them, and that's money. But obviously you got to have an education, obviously, at some point to manage the money that you may start to earn. So that's where, again, it's important, obviously, not only to emphasize it at home, but obviously prioritize it at school as well. Fun fact, I won 6th grade, I won a spelling bee. So fun fact. 6th grade spelling bee, yeah.
And I'm going to follow on with that, because you brought up my favorite subject, calculus and mathematics, and we talked about this a little bit in the room over there, is I believe that all the people that are top of their field, athletes, especially athletes, mathematics is supreme.
That's an interesting take. I'm still processing that since we talked back there. But then as I began to process it and think about it, like, yeah, as an athlete, especially thinking football, I mean, anything that we do, it involves numbers. From the number of yards we have to run, even like you asked me about how fast I ran, that involves numbers. Everything, the teams that I played on, everything is based on timing and precision. Obviously, there's steps calculated in there, yards, all those things. You think about down and distance; those are numbers. You think about the clock. Everything is predicated and derived around numbers.
Yeah, and you got to do it in a split second, and you're doing it intuitively, and somehow you magically are on the right spot in the field to catch that ball.
Yeah, and so again, even with quarterbacks, I mean, they have, the velocity of their arm strength. I mean, the offense is predicated on what the skill set of the quarterback. Obviously, that me as a receiver, what I do is predicated on how fast I can get down the field and win. And so for a quarterback, they're usually kind of like the smartest guys on the football field. But you can throw the receivers in there as well too, because we have a lot of calculations that we have to adhere to.
T.O. spoke about the importance of education and numbers. This is an area that we are focused on, and it is why we are on a mission. I am an engineer by education and by heart. As a child, I was encouraged by my father to use technology as a solution to simplify outdated systems of financial products, but we also put the human heart into everything we do. We call it empathetic technology. That is what AI is all about, using machine learning in combination with human expertise to streamline an unnecessarily slow process across the spectrum. Trust is the lifeblood of financial services, and we need to educate consumers how Angel AI has redefined trust by delivering objective and accurate results, 100% trusted. We have designed safeguards to ensure safety, accuracy, and reliability of AI-generated financial decisions, giving people a new level of confidence. Now, let's get back to my conversation with the great Terrell T.O. Owens. He has enjoyed a successful business career after football, and I wanted to learn from his experience.
You've had a long career, and you've started businesses. You made a lot of money. What have you learned about business that you can share? This is a room full of entrepreneurs. What's the best advice you can give them about running a successful business?
It's only, I think, I always tell kids this because a lot of kids, they look at athletes and they immediately equate us being professional athletes as lots of money. So at some point in time, if you're fortunate enough to become an athlete that makes a lot of money, and obviously you're going to have a bank account. So I also just try to use an analogy, or just try to have them understand the statement of, if you're going to put money into a bank account, it's the same as you put forth effort to be successful in anything, because it's like ROI, return on investment. You're only going to get out of it what you put into it. So if you don't put anything into it and you're expecting great dividends, that's not going to add up. And so that's why I think when you think about every prospective sport out there, whether it's, baseball, basketball, soccer, tennis, there's only a handful of great athletes in those sports. Granted, there's hundreds and thousands of athletes, they're good, but why aren't there only a handful of great ones? And those great ones, they prioritize, they want to go beyond, they push themselves beyond the natural talents and gifts that they have. They want to get more out of what God has obviously blessed everybody in here to have. Greatness is in all of us, but how do you maximize that? And that's putting forth that effort. Like for me, it's like everybody has a desire. I talk about my 3Ds and how I became a Hall of Famer. It just didn't happen overnight. I think about when I was nominated in 2016, didn't get inducted until 2018, but I was blown away at being inducted in 2016, understanding there's only, 400 something guys in the Hall of Fame at this point. And there's been thousands of guys that have played in the National Football League. So to be spoken in the breath or being mentioned, with the Hall of Famers that have, presently in there and gone before me, and there will be a lot after me, I thought about, how did I get here? Small town, small school, 2 or 3 star athlete coming out of high school, wasn't highly, heavily recruited coming out of high school, being drafted in the 3rd round by the 49ers in 1996. I had 10 to 12 receivers in that receiver class that went before me. There's only 2 that's in the Hall of Fame in that class. That's myself and Marvin Harrison. And I'm like, man, how did I get here? And I think about, and I came up with my 3Ds, which is my desire. My desire is what drove my career. But the other 2 Ds was dedication, which is the standard. You have to dedicate yourself. Going through high school, college, pros, there are certain things that you have to do to maintain that level of play. But then you think about the last D is discipline. When you think about some of the greatest who have played the game, discipline is really, when I've looked at, watched documentaries, when I've heard players talk about other greats, other coaches talk about greats, discipline really is the word that usually comes up that separates the great from the good, because there's a lot of good athletes that play every sport. I'm sure here there's a lot of good real estate people, a lot of successful people, but what separates the great from the good? And it's discipline. You have to find your niche, and you have to find something to propel you. Elevation requires separation. And so you got to separate yourself from the norm in order to reach those heights of the greats. Thank you.
So in a nutshell, we can define your career as what we say at Angel AI: nothing is beyond reach. Yes?
Absolutely. Because again, a greatness, it's in all of us, and it's up to you to really dig deep and find out what that is, what that greatness is.
I share the sentiment that Tio voiced. He talked about the greatness in all of us. This is why I talk about nothing is beyond reach. It is also why I created Angel AI, and why I believe passionately that AI technology will bring equal financial access to all segments of society, particularly those who have been left behind and forgotten. Angel AI empowers everyone to build generational wealth through equal access to financial instruments that enable strategic investments, particularly in real estate. Angel AI is a personal assistant rooted in empathy and humanity at everyone's fingertips, and she keeps you proactively informed while organizing your financial life. She learns volumes of new data in near real time. Angel AI is never wrong, and the user need not perform prompt acrobatics to receive meaningful answers. She can be trusted to decide big ticket financial transactions. Angel AI has a chat user interface that is intuitive and empathetic. She captures and inspires you such that the process of giving your personal and financial information to Angel AI is comforting, intuitive, and yes, empathetic. Angel AI has patent pending chat blockchain integration for instantaneous financial transactions. It works even for the most complex financial use cases like mortgages. Let us go back to our conversation with Tio. And now Tio and I will talk about the importance of investing in your own home.
So for the, this is a room full of real estate professionals, and you talked a lot about financial management and savings, and I know you own a lot of real estate. So can you talk a little bit about how you think real estate could help uplift communities and uplift young families that may not be thinking going down that path?
I mean, I think just obviously owning property, owning your home. Again, depending on what region you're in, sometimes that's instant equity. I think equity is key in any community because, like I said, you can use that to obviously go into whatever avenue or direction that you would like. So I think the most important part is understanding that equity that you have in your home.
The equity that you've built up in your career and your brand, what is your current business ventures? What are you doing going forward?
I mean, right now I'm in the process I've established a clothing line, I have a candle line, I have a wine line, and a lot of these things that I've involved myself with. Like I said, if I didn't have the career that I had playing in the National Football League, that kind of opened the doors, for me to do a lot to enable myself to be a part of those businesses. And again, like I said, the DNA of who I am and the DNA and just a blueprint of what I did on the football field, obviously I use those same things with my business ventures as well. I mean, obviously you have to have a desire, to be or do something in life. And so obviously to be involved in those business entities, I have a desire to do that and do those things. Then, like I said, you just have to become knowledgeable about those business ventures as well. So again, like I said, newly into the wine space. I didn't know much about wine, but obviously the pandemic allowed a lot of people. I mean, it was good and bad for a lot of people during the pandemic, but it allowed a lot of people to really pivot and shift, where they are and where they were at that particular point in time, and really, dibble and dabble into different things. And so obviously this wine opportunity came about, and so obviously I'm partnered under the Tommy Lasorda Family Wines label. Obviously he's a Hall of Famer, baseball manager for the Los Angeles Dodgers. So there was some synergy there. We're both Hall of Famers. And then too, I wanted to educate myself about the wine. I mean, growing up in Alabama, we're not known, especially in the black community. We don't really drink wine. Growing up in my community, I mean, it was always beer, moonshine, liquor, things of that nature. I didn't partake in it, but you're around it. And so it was something that was really foreign to me. And so obviously to educate, be a part of it now and educate the black community about wine. And like I said, there's some health benefits to it as well. No, like I said, I understood, like I said, growing up, and I saw some of my high school teammates that was drinking and smoking, cigarettes and things of that nature. Like I didn't do anything. I didn't do any of those things because if I did, my grandmama would have probably beat me to death, like literally. But yeah, I mean, she instilled a lot of things in us. Fear was one of those as well. So, but those are some of the things, like I said, I'm proud of. Like I said, even I had to learn discipline not to, indulge in some of those things, while I played, because I had to optimize my performance by being the best athlete that I could be, and understanding what I could do differently, outside of the other guys that were doing certain things. Like how can I? And that was for me, that was kind of like my niche of and I guess I want to say I had to understand how could I make myself and be better. You know what I mean? I think you have a lot of people that listen to a lot of speakers that always talk about their purpose or their why. For me, I never looked at it that way because coming from the black community trying to be successful, it's kind of like it's an understood why we want to do the things that we do. For me, I had to find my how. It was how can I get better? How can I get bigger, faster, stronger? How can I get the coaches to notice me that I'm as good as I think I am, even though they're evaluating me, amongst my peers. So you have your Les Browns, your Tony Robbins that are really prophetic and they stand on the stage and they talk for hours and they motivate people and they inspire people and they ask people, what is their why? What is your purpose? And for me, I've listened to that. It was an understood why I wanted to do what I did and I wanted to do with my desire. I had to find my how. And so those are some of the things that enabled me to be the athlete that I became, because I had to not do those certain things because I saw how it affected my teammates that drank, either before the game or after the game. They smoked during the course of the week or after practice. Yeah, they had naturally gifted talent, but at some point, it's going to affect you down the road. And so for me, I didn't do any of those things. I felt like I was behind the 8 ball anyway, because I wasn't as big as they were. I wasn't as fast as they were. I wasn't as strong as they were. But I did the necessary things that the coaches instilled in us to become an athlete, the best athletes that we could. That was the dedication part. Those are standard things. But I had to go outside of the standard things, and those are the discipline. I put self-discipline, and I was self-aware to know what I had to do to really get on the level of some of the athletes that were better than and far greater than I was at every level. High school, not so much, but I saw it in college, and I saw, I'm like, man, these guys are faster than I am. I didn't really play as a freshman. You didn't really play the school that I went to. You didn't really get playing time unless you were coming out of high school and you were like a 4 or 5 star. You were like an All-American. You got instant playing time, or you got put in to see if you could play. Me, not so much. I was on the scout team. I ran the cars for everybody else. And then I got to the pros. It was kind of the same. I saw how like everybody was faster than I was. And then I prioritized my deficiencies or areas of improvement that I needed to work on. And like I said, one thing, it wasn't an overnight success for me. I really didn't feel confident that I could do the things that I did later on in my career to probably after my third year playing with the San Francisco 49ers. I think everybody remembers the catch against Green Bay. That day, it didn't start particularly well for me. I had a drop. I had probably several drops. I had dropped a touchdown. I had a fumble. But I always tell people, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And so you look at the, everybody's asking me about, the 49ers, the Eagles, some of the teams that I've played for, the Cowboys. And I have friends that call me that are fanatics about these teams, and they're already projecting them to go to the Super Bowl. I'm like, bro, the season is early. You're 4 or 5 games in. You know what I mean? Let's talk around week 10, 11, 12. That's when the season kind of unfolds, and you start to see things shape up and shake out for a lot of people.
So you think the 49ers are going to make it this year?
They have the talent to do it. Obviously, like I said, the way that they started off based on how they finished last year. But again, you've seen a lot of 5-1 teams throughout the course of the last week or so. They've lost games to some subpar teams, but you can never underestimate your opponent. And I think a lot of football players, they'll tell you, like, you can get beat on any given Sunday by any given team because everybody's working hard every week to prepare for a game. So you look at, the Cowboys just lost. Niners just lost. The Eagles lost a couple of weeks ago to the Browns. Some subpar teams. The Jets beat whomever. So I don't really follow a lot of football. I just see a lot of. I'm on social media, so I'm forced to kind of see what's going on.
T.O. talked about the importance of home ownership. I believe passionately that the only way to close the generational and racial wealth gap is through ownership of hard assets like real estate. In the past decades, income equality has reached record highs. However, Angel AI technology has managed to decrease decline rates significantly, almost 50% among minority groups. That means on a national average, for every 100 families that were denied credit, 50 were unfairly denied and would have been homeowners if all lenders and banks used Angel AI. The financial services industry feels like a relic from a bygone era. Manual paper shuffling and your file bouncing from one person's desk to another is a testament to its antiquity. Still today, mortgage banks have systematically discriminated against complex circumstances which disproportionately occur for lower income and minority borrowers. Be it prior bankruptcies, immigration status, extenuating credit events, or multiple job changes, these applications are often set aside in favor for more white-collar profiles with higher likelihood of closing. This has led to Angel AI being called the home of fair lending because of her democratization of the home buying process. Still today, mortgage banks have systematically discriminated against complex circumstances which disproportionately occur for lower income and minority borrowers. Be it prior bankruptcies, immigration status, extenuating credit events, or multiple job changes, these applications are often set aside in favor for more white-collar profiles with a higher likelihood of closing. This has led to Angel AI being called the home of fair lending because of her democratization of the home buying process. As the world grapples with widening economic disparities, tools like Angel AI have become solutions to ensure the American dream is accessible to all. Now back to T.O. I asked him a question that I'm sure is on all of your minds.
You really have a lot of social media?
Yeah, I'm on social media. I mean, I try to stay engaged. And I was like that even with businesses. I mean, you have to understand your fan base and understand fan engagement, whether it scales, you can scale your business or not, knowing understanding your demographic, all those things.
Like I said, more math again.
Again, yep. It's always, that's why you're the genius up here.
So you played a number of teams, obviously 49ers, Dallas, so on. Where does your heart lie?
I hear a lot of oohs. Look, I don't have. I'm not emotionally invested in any of these teams. I played good wherever I went, and that was really kind of my mindset. That was my mindset. No matter, like I said, it'd be no different than somebody in here going from a different firm to another. The talent is going to be there. It's going to stay the same. You may change your dresses, you may change views or scenery, but the talent is always going to stay the same. And so I think, there are some things there. When I left San Francisco, it was a contractual situation. And then I went to Philly, played well in Philly. There were some things that kind of happened there in Philly, and I ended up going to play with the Cowboys. But one thing remained consistent, and that was my production. And so my routine, the things that I did to take care of my body, none of that changed. And even when I played, for the last two teams in Buffalo and Cincinnati, even at the ages of 36 and 37, when, at that time your skill set should be on the decline. But I was still playing at a high level. At 37, I think I was the only guy that, amassed 200-yard games at that age, but again, it was a testament to what I did throughout the course of my career. I just stayed steady and consistent, and I always was still looking for perfection. I don't think I don't know if anybody's ever been perfect at anything, but I think it's a barometer that we use to strive for. But even in my 8th, 9th year, I would go to my coaches, and this is when I was at the height of my game, when I would go into games and know that I would be unstoppable and know that nobody could stop me. But I would still go to my coaches during the weeks of practicing and ask them, like, yo, what can I do? What do you see in my game as a coach? You're watching film. How can I get better? And so that was just me. A lot of people didn't know that about me, but that was once I started to understand my true gifts and my talents and my capabilities, and I did things to enhance it throughout the course of my career. I wanted to get better. I fell in love with the process of becoming great. I wasn't great at that particular time. I mean, regardless of what the media may have said or portrayed you as one of the top, in your position, I heard it, but I didn't allow that to really infiltrate into my mind. Like, okay, well, you've arrived. I steadily wanted to get better at every stop.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. There's the public TO, and then there's a TO I know. And the TO I know that came out right there, which is always humble, always improving.
Well, I mean, again, you look at the way the media portrayed me up throughout the course of my career. I was just different. I was outspoken. I believed what I believed in. I stood on what I believed in. When you think about some of the things that I got heavily criticized for, vilified for, it pales in comparison to some of the people that have actually done criminal things. I got vilified for scoring touchdowns and actually celebrating touchdowns. At one point, they kind of cracked down on that, and then they saw the viewership dip, and then they brought the celebrations back. And so now that's part of the marketing, the branding of the National Football League is celebrating, guys scoring touchdowns. Now you have not only just one guy where they saw me doing it, oh well, he's selfish, he's not celebrating with his team. Well, you can't get upset at me because my team is not celebrating what I just accomplished. But now you have team celebrations, things of that nature. So again, a lot of people say that I was ahead of my time. Like I said, now you see how a lot of these teams, a lot of these players, they're understanding their value, their worth, they're marketing themselves, which is obviously made the NFL more dollars than ever. I'm often either, like I said, even through my social media, I get a lot of DMs with parents that I've run across at certain events. Just probably like a couple of weeks ago, I met a young lady, probably it had to be like 2015, 14, something like that. And I had an event in Vancouver, and she started following me on social media, and she reached out to me, and she was having some issues with her son, with bullying and how to navigate through that. And so literally I jumped on a phone call and talked to her, and I talked to her son about the issues that were going on. So again, experience is key for everything. And so I don't claim to be perfect. I've made mistakes throughout the course of my career. But sometimes, like they say, experience is some of the best life lessons learned and the best teacher, going forward. So I'm always available with discretion, with my time and what I share.
Terrell Owens' conversation with me at the Dallas Mindset Summit was not an endorsement of Angel AI. And I am sure you will agree that it was a fascinating 30 minutes with the great T.O. Terrell Owens. He is often misunderstood and even vilified, but this Angel Hour has presented T.O.'s depth and his generosity to share his unique success coaching, which covered work ethic, humbleness, and his mantra of 3Ds: desire, dedication, and discipline. He spoke about his grandma, racial diversity, and the gift of family and home. Home ownership is perhaps the fastest way to reduce the issue of financial inequality and is the cornerstone of the American dream. However, financial services denial rates are up to 50% higher amongst Black and Hispanic minorities. My father arrived in America from India to fulfill his dream, and 42 years later, we are delivering on our goal of allowing everyone to find their true home within. The credit approval process is riddled with systemic complexity and disparity. The consequences of this are that too many lenders have disadvantaged lower income and minority borrowers. But wait, I have good news. I have helped tens of thousands of Americans with unbiased AI technology and have eliminated many of the costs associated with financial services. The current home financing process is highly manual and is buttressed by simple, unintelligent tools. Financial services are, therefore, both error and bias prone. AI corrects this by turning the tables on the lender such that you're in control and you define and direct the lender or the bank every time. Angel AI recently completed and processed the first 100% AI controlled and executed home purchase. Angel AI connected a minority home buyer and home seller and then closed the home purchase transaction in less than 25 days. It got the buyer conditionally approved in 30 minutes, sent him daily listings and potential homes that fit his criteria, determined the right offer price, sent proof of funds to the listing agent, created the offers and counter offers with the real estate agents, and it even worked with the real estate agent to fully close the purchase. by implementing artificial intelligence to do the heavy lifting for the realtor and the lender. Before we conclude today, I want to tell you more about why we are so excited about bringing you an empathetic hour with Angel AI. Now, this is Pavan Agarwal, and with me here is our co-pilot, Angel Lynn Elliott, and we call her Angel over here, not to be confused with Angel AI.
Angel Human.
Angel Human, not Angel AI.
So how was Celigence formed, which is the company that created Angel AI?
So Angel AI was put into production in 2018 inside the mortgage company. And the company that the process of building Angel AI actually started all the way back in the 80s when I was like 14 or 15, because I wanted to build AI ever since then. And I started thinking about how to do it. And what I did was I just collected all the data. It didn't take too long to figure out that the only way to make AI work is you need lots of data. So I was like a data pack rat. So I started collecting, all the data and putting it together in storage, and all the rules, all the problems, everything that went wrong, I started collecting. And all of that then was used to train the AI. So when we started building the actual AI engine, and we created a company called Celigence, which is started in 2012. It started in 2012 is when there was enough computing power available for an affordable price, where you can take all this data and crunch through it and start getting results. So we started building the product into something usable at that time when we started this company. So essentially, how it's built and why the company is called Celigence, is because what we did was we built little tiny cells that all come together, and each cell solves one little tiny problem or makes one little tiny decision, and they all come together and they solve a big problem. Okay, and then when there's a new problem, the new cells are created and solve a big problem. So what has happened is, over the years, as we have been building and collecting this data, we've been building these little cells all along as well. And this could be a little cell of data, a little cell of code, or a little algorithm that creates code. All of these things that were being built, and they're all autonomous. And we came up with a framework that puts them all together.
So you're saying to achieve this massive goal, it was one cell at a time?
It was one cell at a time. Get a little better, as a really good metaphor, and it's a really good comparison, because as T.O. said, right, every day he talked to his coaches and got a little better, come up with a little bit new ideas and added on. And this is basically how Angel AI was built, starting from the mid 80s. A little bit better, a new cell, one cell is like one step. And if you architect it right, you can keep all of these things together. You collect them all. And a lot of the code that's in Angel AI was written 20, 30 years ago. And it's still there today because it's written that well. And I think it'll be there for another 100 years. There's no reason to touch that code.
Yeah. So from major league sports to business to cutting edge technology, real estate, mortgage, these same themes all apply to get success, which is just get a little better every time.
Yes. Desire, discipline, dedication, and desserts.
And dessert. So I found Mindset Summit to be very inspiring and motivational, and just so much great information. Are we going to get a chance to participate in more of these?
Yes, there are several more Mindset Summits coming up in the next couple of months, and we hope to have T.O. at them again. And perhaps even in the last Mindset we had Pudge. That was amazing. And we had Pudge and T.O. a year ago together at one time. I interviewed both of them at the same time. And they were like, together they're incredible, because very different backgrounds, but the stories are so similar in the sense of their mindset and how they solve big problems. And they solve big problems by solving the small problem today. And the magic in the technology that we developed is we solve small problems every single day, but we do it in a way that it lasts forever. We don't write code that becomes obsolete. And anybody who's listening today, who's an engineer who's written code and rewritten code, right? And technology comes and goes like a fad. Back in the day there was something called Power Builder, which is obsolete, and all that code that was written under Power Builder is gone. Right? And then you have different types of different web technologies that come and gone. But if you write it properly as a science, it'll never be obsolete. And if you organize it to be data centric, if your code is data centric, if your technology is data centric, then you're AI ready. And that's kind of I'm geeking out here now, talking to the engineers that are listening. Good code discipline, good data architecture, create objects that are data centric, not code centric. You've laid the foundation so that you can add on all the new technologies that you need. Very easily it plugs in together. We're talking about AI, we're talking about Terrell Owens and the amazing experience that we had with him at Mindset Summit in Dallas last week. But one of the things that Angel does on a routine basis, almost every day, maybe several times a day. It's like I have coffee several times a day. Angel actually works, does real work several times. So she spends a lot of time with new users and first-time users of AI and introduces people, all walks of life, to AI. And tell us about how that goes and what is usually the inhibitions you see, the fears, the emotions in the beginning. What emotions and problems, challenges you see in the beginning, and where do things end up at the end? And tell us about the evolution process that you see people go through when they experience Angel AI for the first time.
Yeah, I think it's funny because we're so used to, if there's a new technology, there's going to be this learning curve to be able to pick it up and use it comfortably. And so, as you mentioned, I will meet with people and show them how to use Angel AI from, people who love technology, that are always early adopters, that feel really comfortable with technology, to those people that are like, I never embraced technology. I can barely send a text message on my phone. Very nervous about being able to figure out this whole AI thing. So I've really interacted with the full spectrum of user types. And like I said, they expect with most technologies, there's going to be this learning curve and it's going to be complicated to learn to some extent. And so they're waiting for me to drop that bomb. And we get to kind of the end of the training, the demonstration, they're like, wait, that's it? Because it really is so easy to use. I think honestly the biggest hurdle is really people wrapping their minds around that it is that easy to use. There isn't a catch. You really just talk to it, and you talk to it like you're talking to a human. I always say in demonstrations, you're going to see me say certain things to her to demonstrate these different features, but you don't have to say the same thing that I'm going to say. You say it in your own way. In fact, if it doesn't understand the way that you phrase the question or the request, you're actually helping it learn the nuance of the English language. So the evolution by the end of the training is usually like relief. Even for those people that are super tech savvy, they're like, oh wait, that's it. Because it really is so easy to use. And I know that was a big goal of yours, right? That was by design.
Yeah, so if anybody's used ChatGPT, you may have heard the term prompt engineering. Okay, and that means creating the prompt, telling ChatGPT in the right way what you're asking for. Otherwise, you may get some gibberish, and you may get something called AI hallucinations, where it's going to just create things up out of thin air, and it'll state it as if it's an absolute 100% fact, and all of it is just complete imagination of the AI, which is a funny thing to say. AIs don't imagine. They don't actually hallucinate. It's just a fancy way of saying that the model is statistical, is probabilistic, is guessing at words, and it just guesses at a bunch of words that semantically, grammatically come together properly, but are completely pulled out of thin air and randomly selected. They're randomly selected to be in a grammatically correct order, so they look real and genuine, but it's all made up. So that's why with normal chat AI systems, you have to prompt it correctly to get the right answer. So the goal of Angel AI is for anyone to use it, and you shouldn't have to do what I call prompt acrobatics. meaning being able to say it just right or saying it again and again, and being basically an expert to get the answer that you need. Okay, Angel AI is designed so that anyone can use it, and every answer that you get from it is trusted. It's 100% trusted, and it's 100% accurate. And the magic is behind the scenes of how we actually accomplish that. So in many ways, we're way ahead of systems like ChatGPT and others, which give you a warning right up front that it may be wrong, right? And it may give you dangerous answers. And the warning that we give you is that it's 100% trusted, that you can ask it questions in any different way and it will figure it out. And the secret sauce is that when it gets stuck, it doesn't go back to you with silly answers. It will actually, on the back end of it, it will get an engineer involved transparently. You won't even know. An engineer will be involved, and it will help it along, and it will deliver the correct answer. So this is a field of technology, it's a field of AI technology, which is actually called augmented intelligence. Okay, so this is the man and the machine working together, or the woman.
And another huge difference between Angel AI and other technologies out there is the built-in empathy. Can you explain what I'm referring to?
Yes, empathy, not sympathy. It is a machine. It cannot sympathize. Sympathy is an emotion. It's something we feel for another person's emotional state or predicament. Empathy is simply understanding the other person's emotional state. So, for example, if it's cold, if I know it's cold out, if I see Angel bundled up in a sweater and shivering, then I know, okay, it must be cold. That's empathy. I know there's enough data, there's enough information I'm receiving through different mechanisms to conclude that Angel is cold. Okay.
To be fair, you can usually conclude that I'm cold, but
gotta feed you more because get some meat on your bones. Keep it warm. So being able to look at a data set, like how's Angel talking? How's she reacting? What's the tone of her voice? How does she sound? What words are she using? All of that is just data coming in. And it's very straightforward to create a machine learning algorithm that analyzes all that and says, Angel must be happy right now because she laughed 3 times. Or Angel must be sad right now, or Angel must be frustrated right now. Okay, so that's what empathetic technology is, and that's what Angel AI does on a continuous basis. As you chat with her, she is constantly figuring out how you are feeling. And she's smart so that when she sees that you're not feeling happy or you're not feeling satisfied with your experience, she automatically loops in an engineer into the conversation. So you don't even have to say, I'm dissatisfied with the service, right? You've seen these surveys that you take for different things that you use, and they ask you a button, happy face, sad face, whether you're happy or dissatisfied with the service. Okay, you don't even have to do that because Angel AI is figuring that out for you. And it's really quite accurate in figuring out when someone is happy or not happy. And consequently, it automatically an engineer is looped in, and an engineer starts looking at what's happening. And if necessary, even takes over the steering wheel. So it's kind of like your Tesla, that if you're not paying attention, it starts beeping at you so that you don't crash. Like hit the brakes, starts beeping and shaking, right? So it's sensing that you're about to crash in the car in front of you, so it wakes you up. Okay, so that's a form of augmented intelligence. That's the AI and the human working together. So the same thing. If you, as a user of Angel AI, is about to hit a wall, so it's kind of like your Tesla, that if you're not paying attention, it starts beeping at you so that you don't crash. Like hit the brakes, starts beeping and shaking, right? So it's sensing that you're about to crash in the car in front of you, so it wakes you up. Okay, so that's a form of augmented intelligence. That's the AI and the human working together. So the same thing. If you, as a user of Angel AI, is about to hit a wall, and Angel AI sensing your frustration level is rising, it will automatically bring in a human into it. It's all transparent, you don't even know. And that human will start directing Angel AI's responses so that you have the best possible experience. And even better, because it's so simple, it is so natural. If you're still not satisfied, you can always tell Angel AI, like, hey, I want to talk to a real human. Enough of this. Can you please just call me? Can you have a human being call me? And a live, real life person not an AI. I
Or
realized,
so you think. Just kidding.
or so you think? No.
Just
Well,
kidding.
I may be an AI. I don't know. Is this all a dream? We don't know.
Depends on who you ask. We
So-
digress.
So a real life human will actually call you and help you with whatever the situation may be.
Well, Pavan Agarwal, the man, the myth, the legend behind SunWest and Celigence, Angel AI, where did this all begin? I've worked with you all this time, and I don't think you ever told me your origin story. How did you grow up, Pavan? Were you always in AI?
I was always mediocre.
No.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. That's actually not far from the truth, because I never really thought about, from where I started, I never really thought about I'd have we'd build something so big that we'd have such big companies. That would have been like beyond my wildest dreams. Right. So, I thought, maybe one day I might have my own car, my own house one day or something like that. Right. And that was kind of it. And because, growing up, when we immigrated to this country, I was like 5 years old. And before that, I mean, it was like, the year before we immigrated, it was like there's not even water and food. So coming to America was incredible, right? It was like, oh wow, free water, right? So so when you come from that extreme, you don't have big grand visions that you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that. You just do, and it's like what we talked about earlier. You just put one foot in front of the other and you just keep on going. So that's kind of where it started. And fortunately, my father got into real estate at the right time in the 70s when real estate was booming. Got his real estate license and just kept building and building from there. And being an immigrant family with really no money, nothing else, we all worked together. Did everything with him. Collected rent, set up open house signs, cleaned houses, you name it. We did it all. So I didn't really think about it. Didn't really question it. It was just like, okay, this is just what we got to do. The life was still like a zillion times better than what we had before. So it was paradise.
So you grew up in working with your family in real estate and mortgage. So where did you make that? Where did that bridge into technology come in?
Well, actually, my involvement in the mortgage company was initially started off as cleaning the office and stacking boxes and things like that. Just being a gopher and whatever needs to be done. And from there, it evolved to my father basically saying, "Hey, you're good at math. Go figure out this stuff for these new truth in lending calculations." Mm-hmm. So that's when I wrote my first computer program for the business to calculate out all of the numbers that used to be done back then by mainframes. That was very expensive and took a long time. So I wrote that on a PC. And mathematics, I just had a natural knack for mathematics, a natural knack for consequently, if you're good at math, you're consequently good at computers automatically. And we just kept coding. And I kept coding. I kept working in real estate. I kept working in loans. And I've done every aspect of both businesses, of real estate and loan business.
Introducing Angel AI, an empathetic technology. She works with licensed financial institutions and brings AI personal assistance to all. Angel AI understands you on a deeper level, recognizing your preferences and anticipating your needs. Each interaction becomes uniquely tailored to your specific requirements, thereby ending discrimination and providing true equal access to financial services. Chat with Angel AI today at angelai.com.
When the loan application is submitted to SunWest will, subject to the qualifications below, honor the guidance and decisions that Angel AI provides during the loan origination process, provided that the information provided is complete, accurate, and the terms of the transaction and the borrower's financial and credit profile do not change from what was provided. All guidance and decisions of Angel AI are subject to changes in market conditions, as well as changes to pricing, product terms, and guidelines, which change from time to time and on a regular basis. You, as the user of Angel AI, acknowledge that pricing and terms for financial products can change at any time, and that no rate, product, or term is guaranteed until such a time as the related financial product has been locked in the case of a mortgage loan, or otherwise confirmed in writing with respect to any other financial product.